We're in Sweden. Many of you here are from Sweden, and I need to say today a very, very big thank you to Sweden. And it's for the gift that is Alexander Isak, who, as you know, is probably now the world's best centre forward. He's the centre forward for my team, Newcastle United, and on Sunday we won the Carabao Cup, our first domestic competition for 70 years. I was at Wembley celebrating. It was an incredible day. So thank you, Sweden, for the gift of Alexander Isak. Quick introduction. We're a retail media consultancy. We've worked with many of Europe's and retailers all over the world on retail media, going back to my time at dunnhumby, where we kicked all of this off by building the first advanced retail media network, probably in the world, using the club card data from Tesco's loyalty program. We also work in the loyalty space and have worked with many of the world's leading loyalty programs, helping businesses to design and optimize them. From a personal point of view, after I worked at Tesco on Clubcard, I was a director of Payback. I've worked with, again, many loyalty programs all over Europe. Most recently, we've been working with the Asda Rewards program in the UK. So retail media, it's a big topic. It's intrinsically linked with loyalty, and we just would like to sort of explain a little bit about the background and the history. And some final thoughts on how retail media is really, how loyalty programs and retail media are really contributing to how brands grow. So it's a big new topic, but it's been around kind of forever. Ever since there have been shops, brands have always wanted to advertise in and around them. But the money that was spent on that was typically seen as kind of trade marketing, shopper marketing, whereas the big money in media went to traditional above-the-line, I guess typified by the big adverts that you would see in the halftime of big events like the Super Bowl in the US. And then, as we all know, over the last 20 years or so, media has digitized. It's become more personalized, and then we have this incredible stat where Google and Meta, because they know what it is that we're interested in, because we tell them what it is that we're looking to buy, and because they can then serve relevant ads to that, have between them captured more or less 3/4 of all the media spend in many developed markets, certainly in the UK. It's an incredible stat that those two companies do 3 times the media income of the rest of the media world put together. And what's really triggered the massive rise in retail media in recent years has been Amazon realizing that they too can play at that game, and that when customers go to Amazon, they tend not to know immediately what it is that they want to buy. They tend to search for trainers or haversacks or whatever it is, whatever the subcategory that they're interested in. Very rarely will they type in the actual brand. And so by serving a sponsored product against that search term, Amazon have, they're now making close to 60 billion of income from their ad business. And as you can see, they're closing the gap and taking a lot of share from Google and Meta. And really, Prime, the loyalty program of Amazon, is really at the center of that. It's giving them huge information about customers. It's given them permission to contact and to market. And you can see from the chart that as the membership of Prime has grown, so the retail media income has grown, and so the market capitalization of Amazon has grown. And so what's happening now is that retailers all around the world are saying to themselves, well, we need to really accelerate and up our game in this space. And we've got now about 250 what are called retail media networks, just the name that describes the organizations that run these media businesses on behalf of the retailers or within the retailers. and it's not showing any signs of slowing down. And I guess there's sort of four big areas where retail media is playing. We have in-store, where in many ways it's always been. And then we have the on-site, the websites of the retailers, where there has been this huge growth, particularly in sponsored product ads. And then we have what's called off-site. So this is, again, another area where loyalty data plays a huge role, and retailers are linking the permissioned databases of their customers to other media channels, which could be social media, could be other websites, other publishers, and increasingly what's called connected TV. This is the TV that you kind of log into. In the UK, that's ITVX and Channel 4, Sky, TV platforms that know who their customers are. They know who the customers are and what they watch, but they have no clue what they buy. The retailers, of course, do know what they buy, and by combining those two data sets, you've got something very, very interesting indeed. And then the fourth area, we have the loyalty program. Could be the app, could be CRM, ways of reaching the customer, and also, of course, the data that's fueling the whole thing. And it really is causing a transformation. It's changing rapidly the way that brands go about doing their business. And media agencies, again, all around the world, are having to adapt to this because it's not been a channel that they've particularly been able to, they've not been geared up around it, so it's driving a lot of change. So what is driving it? I think there's four things that we can point to. So there is this growth of what's called sponsored products, as I've explained, that Amazon have pioneered and now everybody is following. Loyalty programs, technology underpinning it all, and the fourth area, and there's always a sharp intake of breath at a loyalty conference when you mention the book How Brands Grow and Byron Sharp and the marketing science behind that. And it's subscribed to by now about 30 or 40, certainly of the world's biggest consumer brands. And if you understand, if it's a great book, you should really read it. The science behind it, you can see that retail media is really intrinsically connected to these principles. I just want to explain that a little bit more. Basically, what the science of how brands grow sort of proves really is the only way you can grow as a brand is to acquire new customers. You can't get there by just marketing to your existing customers. There's no evidence ever of a business growing by doing that. So you have to acquire new customers, and there's three ways that you achieve customer growth. The first is, of course, the proposition of the product or the brand. So, what is it that makes people want to buy it? What are the attributes? What's its pricing? What's its competitiveness? And then we have these two concepts of physical availability. So where can I buy that? How does that brand become physically visible to me when I want to buy? And secondly, or thirdly, the mental availability. What is distinctive about that brand? How does it trigger my memory when I'm about to purchase? And retail media is the only media that combines those two things if you think about it. No other media does that, whereas retail media, obviously it does. And on the left-hand side, you can see that if you were to buy the media types that are demonstrated here, I'm sure Liz will talk about some of these things in more detail, you've got great visibility. And so by making yourself more prominent when customers are about to shop, you're really putting yourself into a big chance of being bought. And then on the right-hand side, less understood, but really important, is this notion of physical availability on the website. So on a website, most people are shopping on their mobile phone these days, about 60%. Again, about 60% shop via search. And here you've got an example from a retailer website in the UK where the customer has searched for sausages. They probably don't really care what brand of sausage they're going to buy. They've typed it in, but then what they've done is they've said to the retailer, when a customer searches for sausages, I want you to show my brand. And here the brand is Heck, and you can see that they are very visible. They've built their physical availability. They've got every chance of being selected against that search term. If they hadn't done that, they probably would have been buried away on page 24 and would only ever have been found by people who were really wanting to buy them. So so retail media, it drives physical, it drives mental availability. We've got loyalty really at the core of it. So the bigger the loyalty program, the more permissionability you have, the more that data can be deployed against audiences. Of course, you've got the measurability, which again, no other media channel has. That drives huge profitability. That profitability can improve the overall loyalty proposition and then the proposition of the whole brand. So we've got this huge flywheel effect going on. Oops. So we would contend that we're going to see continued investment in loyalty programs, for many reasons, but not least for the fact that they are contributing to this big growth in retail media, and that could be growth in member pricing, which has already had a very, very big impact in many places, but also investment in other services that the loyalty program can deliver. And then for a parting thought, I'm going to come back to the science of how brands grow and really make the point that loyalty programs are very, very, in my mind, are a very key part of how brands grow. And if we look at the three pillars, the pricing, competitiveness, the proposition, the physical availability, the mental availability, and we take, say, for a retail business, what are the key growth drivers of a retail business? If you've got a retail business, you need to open shops. You need to have an e-commerce platform that has got wide reach. You want to have a proposition, of course, around the products that you sell and the service that you provide and the staff. And then you need to build the mental availability through your branding and advertising around. Those are the three things that really will drive a retail business. And the loyalty program clearly can and does contribute to the overall proposition. If you've got a good loyalty program, then you're clearly differentiated versus your competition if they don't have one. Of course, if everybody's got one, then you've got to make yours bigger and better. And on the right-hand side, again, everybody would know how a loyalty program can contribute to the distinctive brand assets of a retail business. You can't shop at Tesco without being reminded of your club card, and similarly at Sainsbury's with Nectar, and these sub-assets of the parent brand are very, very distinctive in their own right. And then finally, along the bottom, you can see that loyalty data contributes across all of the columns. So again, if you've got a retail business and you have loyalty data, you can make your promotions, your ranging, your category management, where you put your stores and how you get a return on them. It can really, really help you make much, much better decisions against all of those areas. Similarly, it can really inform your store location. It can make your e-com business much, much more effective because you can link not just what people are buying online, but to what they're buying on store, so you can really improve the service proposition. And finally, as I've sort of touched on, loyalty data really, really helps improve all of your media choices. So loyalty programs, big driver of retail media, but in my view also a really big driver of how brands grow. So enough from me. Let me hand over to Liz, and then we're going to call on Alex Knappman from Halfords to join us, and we'll have a little panel discussion. Liz.
Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be with you here today. Thank you for having me. I guess my background is very commercial, very media sales, so I've been asked to come and really touch upon what Steve has said and talk about how we at Nectar are really bringing retail media to life through leveraging our loyalty data. So I'm sure you don't need me to tell you all about Purple Nectar, one of the UK's largest loyalty platforms in the UK. And of course, every time we scan, we swipe our Nectar card in the UK, our customers are rewarded with points. And those points you can, of course, convert to cash and to discounts. But of course, there has to be a value exchange for giving that first-party data. So for us, every time we receive that loyalty data, we are working continuous improvements on that data proposition, making sure that that loyalty scheme absolutely puts the customer at the heart of everything we do. So everything that we work through in Nectar 360, everything that our retail media network is powered by, is that health of that loyalty data going in at the top. And of course, for us, we absolutely have that winning coalition in the UK. We're very unique in that we have that data coalition with partners across leisure, travel, fuel services, grocery. So for us, with that data, and what I'm sure that you have, is that real cross-section of understanding who your customer is. How are they shopping? What else are they doing? Where are they buying? What are they going on to do? And that data has allowed us to create Nectar 360, our retail media proposition in the UK. And in short, for us, that allows us to connect brands to our customers, exactly as Steve spoke to. That insight that we get allows us to create proprietary software that we can commercialize, that we can understand, that we can optimize, we can target, and we can measure. And to Steve's point, the rise of below the line to tackle above the line has been incredible as we can optimize and close the loop with that measurement. So for us, when we think about a retail media network, and for you, if you're starting to think about how you can leverage your loyalty, we really focus on 4 key pillars, and it absolutely has to start with that loyalty data. So how do we really drive those long-term partnerships, both with our customers and our coalition, but also that value exchange back to the customer and how we are rewarding our customers back with that data. And of course, that data and insights allows us to commercialize, to drive insight, to drive proprietary software, to allow brands to understand more about the Sainsbury's customer, about the coalition customer. And that, of course, unlocks, as Steve mentioned, that traditional shopper marketing. So those ad placements around store, be it convenience, be it around main estate. But for us, as Steve has alluded to, the rise is within the digital media space. So that data really allows us to track and to target and to ad serve across our e-commerce sites, but also out of home. And in those moments where customers are not necessarily thinking about buying a can of Coke, but in those moments we can really think about omni-channel full funnel marketing. So driving that awareness, driving that trial, and then bringing that all back into store to drive conversion. So I guess part of the question is why we're here. Why are Steve and I talking about retail media at a loyalty summit? Well, I guess the power has to be in that loyalty data. So for us, we are making sure that we're leveraging that success. I'm sure all of you, every email we get, every trade press, everything is about the rise of retail media. But that has to start with the health of the loyalty scheme and making sure that that deep personalization, that deep understanding, that deep reward exchange with your customer for retaining that data is absolutely set up for success. And for us, we're really riding that wave in the UK. Last year, we still haven't got last year's results yet, but in 2024 in the UK, they were saying that north of 6% of ad spend was on retail media. And in fact, by 2025, they're saying that will be north of 15%. The IAB, the Internet Ad Bureau in the UK, has come out and said that actually by 2027, 1 in every £5 on ad spend will be on retail media. So gone are the days, as Steve mentioned, that sort of retail media operated kind of in the opaque and it was all just about store. Now we really can offer that full funnel marketing, driving awareness, driving new customers into our brands, and absolutely driving through conversion when we're in store. But for us, what does a retail media network look like? Because again, depending on your vertical, depending on your CPG, that can mean very different to different people. For us, in short, we are a media owner in Nectar 360. We are a retailer brand whereby we connect brands to our customers to drive awareness, to drive trial, and ultimately drive sales, which is the business that we're all in. And of course, for all of us in that room, that is that really strong reward exchange. We're giving you that data. We want to make sure that we're returning some deep value, some deep penetration, some deep reward on the back of that. So if you're thinking about your journey on retail media, if you're thinking about actually how do we leverage data, certainly for us, we've had a real mindset of 4 key areas. That, of course, absolutely has to start with our insight. But what we'd really urge and what we've really found to be true in the UK is that retail media cannot be a plug-in. It has to operate as a media owner. It has to be additive to that customer experience. It has to add something different. We're all really savvy as consumers. We know when we're being marketed at. We know when we're being sold to. We're really happy with that if that's relevant. So how do we offer that real relevance, that real targeted placement on site, out offshore, and really make sure that we're connecting to our customers? And of course, the proof's in the pudding here. The bit that actually is really winning for the UK is that we can now prove that measurement piece that Steve mentioned. So through our data, we can track, we can see what our customers did when they've been served that relevant ad. How are they responding? What do they go on to do? And actually, we can really prove the efficacy of advertising, something that above the line and full funnel advertising has not been able to do previously. So in short, for us, where we've really driven the targeting is, as Steve mentioned, that digitization piece. And something that we've really taken to is looking at our loyalty data, really rich first-party data. How are we building out those audiences? And then how are we serving the right advert at the right time to the right consumer? Of course, as I said, we can then measure that impact, that closed loop, and build out that broader campaign journey from there on in. And just to paint that in a few creative words, I just wanted to highlight one of our biggest successes from last year, which was Purple Coke. So Coke approached us and wanted to drive more sales. But also from a Sainsbury's perspective, they wanted to drive new customers into Sainsbury's. As Steve said, you have to grow, you have to acquire new customers. What retail media gives, apart from that data and that targeting, is innovation around creativity and creating that really seamless customer journey. That seamless creativity that touches the customer journey at every different touch point. Gone are the days we either shop in store and online. We're all really schizophrenic with how we shop. So to create a full funnel marketing campaign that is really seamless in its connectivity and its creativity works well. So here we, of course, use our traditional in-store format and, of course, our e-commerce. But for us, the real key point was bringing that digitization in store and also linking that to off-site through our Meta capability, our YouTube and our Google. So how are we acquiring those new customers and making those that don't traditionally shop at Sainsbury's come in, look for the purple Coke can that was exclusive to Sainsbury's. And I'm sure you could agree the creativity looks fantastic. So we're bringing these campaigns to life. Gone are the days now where retail is just retail. And proof is in the pudding. We operate Sainsbury's Argos. We're a commodity. We sell grocery products. But even with grocery products, even with dairy, even with bread, even with cheese, the results speak for themselves. And of course, ad budgets are constantly being restricted. We're constantly all being challenged on our ROI. As Kristen said, our best friends need to be an FD. So actually, the proof's in the pudding in terms of the return on ad spend. And even for a simple cheese brand, the return on targeting the customers at the right time, using your loyalty data, being creative, just speaks volumes. And we're just going from success to success, all with the customer in mind. And I guess I just wanted to close on a few key thoughts from a retailer and a retail media network that is, as Steve said, not new. We've been operating in the UK for around 10 years. If you're at the start of your journey, a few kind of pearls of wisdom that we've picked up along the way. Hopefully you're picking this up, but your data, your first-party rich data absolutely needs to drive every decision, every innovation, be it MarTech, AdTech, everything that you know about your customers has to be at the heart of how we drive. The loyalty data from our Nectar brand fuels everything that we do, every decision that we make. And of course, we have to constantly work hard. It's a privilege to own that first-party data. So we have to work really hard to make sure that we're using that in a really brand-safe way, that we're working collaboratively with our loyalty partners to make sure the health of the program, we're bringing new customers in. The deeper the personalization, the deeper the targeting, the deeper reward, the more people will sign up for your loyalty program, and that flywheel continues. And as we've said, and as I'm sure it's all familiar with you all here, the customer has to be at the heart of every decision. Being customer front of mind makes sure that actually you've got that brand relevancy, you're doing the right thing, you're getting that return back from your customers, and you will go from leaps and bounds. So thank you. Hope that was insightful.